All right. Hey, everybody. It's been a couple months since I did a show, and we're back in January 2022. It sounds really weird saying that. And we're joined by Natalie. She is from Quebec, Canada, and she's here to talk about one of my favorite topics, cooking with a disability. So, hello, Natalie. Welcome.
Hi, Tiffany. Thanks so much for having me. Nice to meet you.
Very, very nice to meet you. And I just met you online recently. So it's super cool for you to, be willing to be on the show and talk about yourself and your life in cooking. So I know you just started a YouTube channel like 10 months ago, right?
Yeah, during the pandemic, I always kind of have been sharing my how-to. So I'll take pictures at each step of my cooking, then I'll post it on my Instagram and things like that. And then one day I was bored. I think I was having a good hair day. I probably put on makeup, which was rare during the pandemic, during lockdown. And I kind of just turned the camera on myself and was like, hey guys, I'm going to film myself. And I put it up, and I think it was just on Instagram, and everyone was like, oh, you should do more of these. So we kind of made it a thing, and we were doing it quite often last spring and winter. But then when things kind of got a little, restrictions were lifted a little bit, life kind of happened again, and we didn't really have time to do any more videos. But with the new variants, we're back in lockdown, so I'm back cooking.
Now you're back cooking. It's not the worst thing to do while you're in lockdown, right?
It's not at all.
Yeah, I found cooking to be quite the tonic, but let's go from the beginning to where, okay, I know you don't have a spinal cord injury, but you have a disability that makes it hard to walk, right?
So yeah, absolutely. I have osteogenesis imperfecta, OI, or brittle bone disease. Essentially, it's a collagen genetic disorder that I had at birth. There was nobody else in my family that had that disability. I was a spontaneous mutation, and I had fractures throughout my body that had healed and refractured, and they weren't quite sure what the outcome would be. But through the magic of, medical technology and science, and I'm here today. So I'm 3 feet tall, and I use a wheelchair to get around primarily.
Were you ever able to walk as a child, or was a wheelchair kind of always your thing?
The wheelchair was always my thing. Walking is a therapy thing. So I do now walk with crutches, but really for exercise. Like anybody would do a workout, my workout is walking a little bit with my crutches.
Awesome. But one of those things I know from people that do have OI, it's like you might as well use the wheelchair most of the time so you can conserve your energy, right? You don't want to
conserve our energy, and also puts us at a little bit of a higher, because I'm 3 feet. So if I'd be walking everywhere, it'd be even extra tricky because I can't climb. Some people like little people, they are shorter, but they can climb and they have a bit more, it's a little easier for them. Whereas for me, being in a wheelchair, I'm kind of at an even playing field.
So how tall are you in your wheelchair then?
Oh my goodness. Maybe 4 feet?
That's about average height for most wheelchair people, I've noticed. Yeah, they say about 4 feet.
No one's ever actually asked me that question.
So you are taller, obviously, in your wheelchair, which is nice. So
yes,
very cool. So you're up in Quebec, Canada, which is, I was saying, that's super cool. Are you born and raised from that part of the world?
Yep, I was born in Montreal, and I was born and raised in Montreal, and I've lived here all my life.
All right, and that means you're bilingual.
Oh yes, I speak English and French. Absolutely, yeah. And I speak some other languages too, but yeah, English and French are my main languages.
That's great. I love that. I really want to go to Quebec one day. Okay, so now
don't come in the winter. Don't come in the winter.
Really, I kind of like the cold though. I'm a big fan of cold.
Yeah,
like if it's
but
cold,
it's not the most wheelchair accessible city, especially in the winter.
Really, they don't do a good job of plowing.
No, ma'am.
Advocacy, man. We got to work on that everywhere in these cities.
That's another topic for another
another topic. Okay, let's talk about something fun. So cooking. Now, I know you love to cook. When did you start cooking? When you were a child, a teenager, in college?
So it's really funny because when I was a little girl, obviously the kitchen was very inaccessible for me. Everything was standard height, and I was even smaller than I am today, right? Yeah. So I remember I have like memories of, my mom baking, and she would sit me on the counter and she would have me read the recipe, and we'd learn fractions and things like that. I remember whenever we'd have spaghetti sauce, I would sit beside the stove and kind of stir it while we were defrosting the sauce and tasting it and things like that. So that's the only really cooking that I did. I don't even remember she would ask me, my mom would ask me to, can you peel this garlic? And I didn't like it because it was sticky. And I was just like, oh no, this is not my jam. I'm not really, but food has always been a huge part of my upbringing, with family and things like that. Everybody cooked and ate. We were a food family always. So
what was your, like, were you Italian family? Were you just, what was your
food has just been, excuse me, Eastern European and Italian. And just as food has always just been a part of our life. So some people eat to live, some people live to eat.
I live to eat as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you grew up with this kind of being around your mom, and was your mom around, or was
my grandparents? My stepdad is a phenomenal cook too. But I mean, when you live with someone who's a really good cook, you don't really feel like you need to learn how to cook. And it's like when everybody lives at home, they don't keep their room clean, but then when they get their own apartment, all of a sudden they're the queen of cleaning the washroom and doing things like that, right? So I have other chores in the house.
Yeah. So you see cooking in a new light though as well, right? When you get older.
Exactly. And so when I met my now husband, he had an apartment that was not accessible for me at all.
Oh no.
And so he had to carry me up these winding stairs and things like that. And it was
how romantic.
It was romantic and scary in the winter.
I know everyone thinks it's great to be carried. It's not that great. You really don't want to be carried though, ideally. So how did you make the kitchen work?
So he didn't really grow up cooking in his household. So I was like, okay, well, I gotta make some food then. I gotta be the one that cooks now. So what he did was, he was so cool. He got me one of those kind of, it's like a plastic table that you can on hinges so it can flap down and up. So it doesn't take up too much space. And he bought me an electric little kind of stovetop you plug in, and that's how I started cooking. Yeah.
Awesome. And that is the best DIY accessible cooking area if you're in.
Honestly, I recommend it highly for people who don't have, the luxury of having an accessible kitchen. For that reason, especially. Yeah, because it's really
make a lot, right?
You can make a lot. You can buy a couple hot plates. You can buy, you can have an air fryer. You can have a microwave oven. All those type of things now are really, the technology's there, right? For making, you just need that counter space, right? Counter space is real estate.
Counter space is huge. And by the way, your lap is a good counter space, right?
I don't have a lap, but people who are who have different disabilities, lap is great. I do not have a lap.
Okay, I'm all about the cutting board. Like, I put the cutting board on my lap whenever I'm cooking. It's like another spot to put stuff because it's hard if you don't have space,
It really is. Absolutely.
So how long were you in that apartment until you got a nice accessible kitchen? Did you guys upgrade and get a nice kitchen then?
So it's kind of an interesting story. So we were in the apartment, for not too long in his apartment. And then luckily his parents owned the 5-plex where he lived. Cool. So they decided, since he had just renovated his apartment the year prior to meeting me, they said the one next door needs some renovating. So we did a switch with those tenants, and then we gutted. It was like a 5.5, and so it was very long with lots of small rooms, and the washroom wasn't accessible, the kitchen wasn't accessible. So we kind of made like an open concept into a 3.5.
Cool.
Apartment. And we designed the kitchen to make it accessible for myself and for my husband, who's able to. That's always been a thing.
How amazing. That sounds amazing to be able to custom design your own kitchen. So did you put like the oven in the wall and all of that then?
We had the oven in the wall. Yes, it was recessed into the counter. So, and it was really funny when we were shopping for ovens, and it's a really good tip. When you shop for ovens, a lot of the time the racks are on like very stiff. They're not on wheels, but we found one that was on wheels. So it just slides really, really, really easily. I can even, and if it's hot, I'll use like a spoon, just the spoon handle to pull it open.
I'm all about the utensils for grabbing things
utensils, and I have all these things that, there's always tricks that we, sorry, I dropped my.
Okay,
there's always tricks that we can learn, that we learn along the way. We know what works, because later on, we finally built our own little bungalow, and we moved to the suburbs, and where I grew up, and we built our own, and that's where we knew what worked and what didn't work. And that's when I had my kitchen that is perfect for me. Perfect for me, but yet still I could use more counter space even now.
We never have enough counter space. Sometimes I want to be like at a restaurant and have just lines of counter space to put everything on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have a gas or electric stove?
We have an electric stove top.
Okay.
Here in Canada, gas is it's not as common as it is in the US. It's a gas.
Okay.
And we're always said that when this one goes, perhaps we might even look at doing an induction because it's even safer because the elements
Ooh,
don't stay hot, right? So
I
that's
like
safer.
that.
Because
That's
I get really
cool.
close to the stove.
Right. Your face
I'm
is right
short.
there. I know.
Right there. All of me is right there. You can imagine.
No,
So that might be something.
people don't understand how hot it can get, right? When you're cooking with your face by the
Yeah,
stove.
exactly. I don't do a lot of deep frying in my cooking. That's something I kind of try to shy away from.
Oh my God, that's so funny. You're funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is amazing. So you have this great kitchen, and what I kind of want to go back when you were cooking in that apartment, because I forgot to ask you, what was one of the first things that you made, like a dish that you were like, this is amazing. I'm a good cook. I think I should keep cooking.
So when I saw that my husband was eating spaghetti sauce in a can, I said I'm gonna make spaghetti sauce. And it's till today, it's my favorite thing to make, and it's always been my favorite food, one of my favorites. And just like I'm an equal opportunity foodie. I like simple food and I like fancy food. So give me oysters and spaghetti, I'll be very happy.
When you make your spaghetti sauce, do you use like go completely homemade, or do you use like a jar of Prego or Ragu and then make it better?
No, absolutely.
You use all tomatoes?
Homemade.
Do you buy tomatoes?
And we've even made our own tomatoes too. Sometimes I'll peel them. I'll boil them and peel them myself. Yeah.
You're good. See, now, is there a video on how you make your sauce on your YouTube channel?
I haven't done my actual official tomato sauce yet, but I've done how I make my peeled tomatoes and boil them on my Instagram in my highlights. It's there. Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
This is a tool that is great when you're scooping it. It's a tool by Joseph that's really great because it's a large wide slotted spoon. So then sometimes like if I'm alone and I'm making pasta, I can just scoop the pasta directly into the sauce.
So smart.
Yeah. Things for the tomatoes and things like that. I love this tool.
Great tip. It's a great tip. You know, there's so many things you have to think about when you're sitting in a kitchen, and I know you just don't have the ability to look over your pots and to like pick them up and to dump them into the sink and all of that. I think one of the scariest things. True. I get afraid of boiling water. Like, how do you drain your pasta then? Do you use the same thing to do all of your pasta?
So if I'm alone, I primarily use this scooper, or I'll use tongs if it's spaghetti.
Yep. Good idea.
And then if my husband's there, obviously he can definitely help me for the boiling. And it depends if I'm making a larger amount or just a small amount of pasta. I have a very light pot that I can myself wheel with one hand and go drain it. It depends on how many people we like to entertain. Well, before COVID, we like to entertain. And so we always have a lot of people over for dinner. But when we were building this kitchen in our home, which is our forever home, we really wanted to make it open concept and make sure that we had space for everything. So a lot of houses, when they have an island in the middle, between the back counter and the island, it's only 3 feet. But we said that's not enough room.
No.
Because if I have to pull the oven open, I'm going to hit the counter, right?
Yep.
That doesn't work out for me.
No.
Also, we wanted to have a double counter. So we have an island where we have all the recessed drawers, and that's standard height. But then we have another side that's just for me. So I have a really good size counter. So whenever I'm cutting and doing things, some able-bodied people, they'll chop something, they'll go to the stove and they'll just kind of put it in, right? That's not a luxury that we really have. But I mean, if you have a lap and you can use your cutting board, that's great. But what I do is I prepare everything. So I pre-cut everything and I put them in little bowls and then I put them at the stove. So then, and that you'll see in my videos, everything's already ready to go.
I would notice that. It's kind of like reminds me of a cooking show when they had everything ready to go. That's
kind of what was my inspiration.
It's so actually it works so good though. It's a good idea. What's your favorite cooking show growing up?
Oh my gosh, I don't have growing up I didn't really pay attention because I didn't have an interest in cooking. But now whenever they have cooking segments on any show, I'm very eager to go on the website and look at the recipes, get inspiration, tweak it, make it mine a little bit,
right? Like oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see here. So let's talk about other kind of, do you use any other, you showed us that really cool gadget right there. Is there anything else that you use? Like, I'm a big fan of like a chopper machine, but you have full mobility of your hands, so I'm guessing you probably don't use that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm not above the chopper. I definitely use the chopper if I need. I have a mini chopper and I have a food processor. We have the Vitamix. We have those tools. But when you have like ground meat and you're making spaghetti sauce or tacos or whatever, that motion of like with the spoon breaking it up.
Yes.
It makes your wrist tired and things like that.
You need to reach up and your arm gets tired.
from OXO is amazing. You just put it and then it helps to, it has a good grip and it helps to break up the meat. And it has a 3-prong tool and a little rubber silicone to do some scraping if you need to. It's my best friend.
How did you find that one? Was it by accident or did you hear about it from somebody else?
I think I heard about it from somebody else, and I looked online and I said, "Oh my God, this is an able-bodied person using this, and they find it easy to use. Can you imagine someone like us, or someone who has arthritis in their hands and things like that?"
So what's the name of that? What's the name if someone wants to buy it?
I think it's a meat grinder from OXO, the Good Grips company. And I also like their measuring cups because they're very light too. Some of the glass ones, the ones from IKEA are really great too because they're glass, but they're really light and they're thin.
Really?
Because the Pyrex ones, they're really heavy.
They are heavy.
So the ones from OXO also are really good. I don't know how to pronounce it. OXO, I'm not sure.
I have no idea. I know they're at Target though, for people out there are wondering. I've seen
absolutely. Maybe I can send you the link to it or on Amazon.
Definitely. We're gonna try to do a whole link dump at the bottom of this podcast so people can click on everything if they really want to buy it. So that's great. Now, what are some easy meals would you recommend if someone's in a wheelchair and they want to cook and they don't know really what to start making?
The one-pot dinners are the best thing ever, right?
One-pot dinners, yes.
One-pot dinners are just super, super easy. If you can mix your rice, your veggies, and your meat all together in one pot, it's the easiest thing. You don't have to, you can either keep it on the stove, you can put it in the oven. I love a one-pot dinner. And
that's a good tip.
Yeah.
You know what's great? You can put pasta raw in a one-pot dinner. You don't need to do no pasta cooking beforehand. Raw meat, you put all your vegetables in one thing, and you put that on your hot plate right on that table if you live in an apartment too. You don't need an oven for that.
You don't need an oven, exactly. And so that's one of my faves. I think if you have a good, I know it's heavy, but if you have a good cast iron, it cooks really well too. But then I kind of fell victim to the Instagram ads during COVID, and I absolutely in love with the Always pan.
Ooh, what's that? I heard about this pan. Why is it so great?
Yes, it cooks like a cast iron. Cooks really well, but it's light as a feather.
What?
It's so nice. And it has a spoon rest. So I ordered like 2 already from them. And now they have a pot. So it makes kind of like a creuset pot, but it's really, really light. So I can actually pull it out of the oven myself. It goes from stove top because the pan doesn't go to the oven. But this definitely goes from stove to the oven.
Wow. How much does it cost for the Lucky Pan?
For the Always pan?
The Always Pan.
I think in the US it's $145. Wow. But it does a lot. You could do omelets, you can do soups, you can do it even has a strainer built in. So if you want to make it pasta, you just lift it out if you want to use it to boil water. So, yeah.
Well, that's a really good tip. How do you think they're able to make it like a cast iron pan without being cast iron? It's weird, isn't it?
It's not like cast. I'm gonna say it cooks really well. It cooks well, cooks evenly. If you pay attention to the instructions and you don't overheat the pan and things like that, it does a really, really good job. And the pot is really cool. It even has a roasting ring inside it, so you can put a whole chicken in there.
So cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I want to try it. I had a cast iron pan and I gave it away to one of my caregivers because I just never used it. It was too heavy. And
it's very heavy and it's a lot of upkeep. So I'm fortunate because I have a person that does the upkeep of the cast iron.
Nice. I have a fiance as well who helps me. He's my sous chef in the kitchen. I'm like, over there, clean my pan.
That's essentially what my husband. I do all my own prep and chop, and I love it. But he does all the cleanup for me, which is.
I love that. You gotta. You can't say no to help. You don't be too prideful as a wheelchair user. Oh, I don't need no help. But sometimes you need help.
I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to prove.
I like that you are smart with the oven. I one time knew a lady who was a quad who tried to get the pot roast out of the oven on her own, and it dumped on her lap, and she got the worst burns of her life, and it took her almost a year to get better. So that's a lesson. That's really sad. Always have help. So with the oven, I don't have an oven in my place. I have a toaster oven actually, which is really annoying me. But I would love to get an oven. Like, do you have any recommendations? I know I didn't mention this, but for just an oven in general, like what kind of oven would you recommend getting someone if they were looking into getting one for their house?
So definitely one, it depends on your dexterity, right? There's knobs, but I don't have knobs. I just have I hold it's a screen and I hold it down. And mine is super old. It's about 9 No.
Yeah.
My God, it's more than that. Excuse me. It's almost 20 years old, my oven now.
I'm always
It's
like
about
wondering,
15 years old. Yeah.
do you have it in your island, or where did you decide to put it in your kitchen, your oven?
So I put it, it's recessed in the back wall.
Right.
It's not in my island. I didn't want to waste any space from my island.
Yeah.
And my island is lower than the height of the oven. So I have it
Okay.
there. But I really recommend the rings. Just making sure it has
Yep.
like nice casters and it just slides out the racks. It's beautiful.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
The reason I asked is because I'm going to be renovating my kitchen, and I'm going to be adding an oven in here. So that's really cool.
So
I'm
cool.
excited.
So it's an Electrolux, our oven. I don't even know if they still make them anymore, but
Okay.
I'm sure when you go to the oven store, you can try them all out. And yeah,
oh my God, it's exciting to think about. Okay, so now what else was I going to ask you? There's so many things about cooking I'm obsessed with. I know that during the pandemic, did you and your husband get into like getting any like fun recipes or try any fun recipes that you see online, like those weird TikTok things?
Yes, I did. I did the feta cheese with the tomato and pasta. I did it, and it was very good. And I did a video about it too.
A feta cheese? I don't think I heard about that one. What's that one all about?
That one, it's basically you take your feta cheese and then you put herbs. Of course, I had to make it my own, so I added a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic, and then you put herbs and chopped tomatoes, like either you halved or you can put whole cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
And then you bake it, and then you toss pasta in it.
Cool.
So easy.
That sounds so good. Okay.
It's the only Instagrammable TikTok recipe that I've done, but I mean, I follow a lot of people online, and then I look at their recipes, and either I follow it to a T, or I always kind of add a little bit of something.
That's so cool. Do you ever bake or make anything sweet, or are you mostly about the savory stuff?
So I'm a savory girl. I'm not really a big dessert person. So my husband does the baking. If we do bake, he does the baking.
All right.
And he does the barbecuing.
Yeah. I was trying to imagine you with a rolling pin at your kitchen, like rolling out some dough. And I'm like,
I could, but I mean, I'm not going to even, if I'm not feeling it. The whole point of cooking is because you have to feel it, right? You have to love it.
You want to have fun.
My husband likes baking because it's very scientific, and you have to follow the recipe, and then that's it.
That's why I hate it. That's why
I don't like it. I'm not there for this. No.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at your videos, man. That Christmas, what was it? You made a leg of lamb or something like that?
I made a deboned leg of lamb, which is so easy because it's kind of just throw it in the oven. You could put your veggies around it, and you're good to go. The whole meal.
That's so cool.
So good.
I don't make lamb. I'm not that I'm against it. I'm just afraid of making it. You are really brave at making some cool stuff. It's really
Thank
cool.
you. I try. I'm one of my favorite meals to make. I love making ossobuco.
Oh, also. Really?
Yeah,
now that's an Italian meal. It's got meat in there, right? Like beef?
Yes. I'm a big meat person. I do cook a lot with meat. I mean, I do.
That's all right. Me too.
As well.
Yep.
But and seafood, and I love seafood as well. Ossobuco is great because you just kind of have to sear on the stovetop. You sear your meat, and then after that, you just add in like your aromatic vegetables,
tomatoes,
your celery, your carrots, your onions, and then you add your tomatoes and some broth, just to it covers, and then you can put it in the oven long and low. And it's usually either a veal shank, or a pork, also if it's a little bit less expensive. So it's just basically a braised meat with wine in a tomato sauce, and you can put it on top of, like, now I've realized risotto is great, but it's a lot of mixing, and sometimes you just don't have time for it. Sure. So I make polenta. Polenta, which is cornmeal.
That's a good trick too. If you don't want to sit at the stove in your chair and stir risotto for a while, make some polenta.
You do have to stir the polenta a little bit, but it's a little bit easier to stir compared to the polenta, the risotto.
Do you are you a big fan of going to your local butcher shop?
So absolutely, I love to support local farms. So yes, so we understand why people choose not to eat meat. So we made the decision that if we're going to eat meat, we're going to know where it comes from.
Exactly. I love that. I've been wanting to do that more and more in my own personal life. It just and the meat tastes better. It tastes so much better.
I remember we had the first time we are really lucky here in Montreal. We have an online delivery service of I don't know if I can say what it is.
You could probably say we're not against that.
Okay, so it's called Lufa Farms. So it's basically online, where we have a marketplace that opens for about 3 days prior to our delivery date. And every week they add new things, and they have different partnerships with local farmers, producers. They have fresh pasta. They have like tons of them. Yeah, It saved us during the pandemic. We didn't leave the house. It was amazing. So basically, I would plan my menus as to what they had that week and be like, okay, so today we're going to do this, this, and this. So I really like to support them, and meat without bacon, without nitrates and sugar. That's the best kind of bacon. It's still bacon, but it's healthier bacon. Yeah.
That is so cool. So you could pick and choose. They would send it to your place,
and they deliver it every Friday. They deliver it to our house. Yeah.
Sounds like a great way to that's a food loving delivery right there. You gotta love food.
And there's a farm that I really like the way that they raise their pork and things like that. In fact, we might go visit them this summer and see what they're all about.
Have you ever thought about buying like a half a cow and freezing it like some people do?
So we have friends who've done that. In fact, they came over last summer and we made briskets on our smoker, and it was really, really good.
Oh my God.
I would consider it. I definitely would, but you definitely need space.
Yeah, right? You need a freezer.
So we just bought a freezer because we just built our basement was never finished, but we knew eventually we would like to finish the basement. So we put the shaft for the elevator to go downstairs. We have a bungalow. And this year, this October, we started the process, and at the end of November, I finally have an elevator to go to the basement now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm jealous.
It's really cool. I mean, we really, we did it because it was time and we were stuck at home, and I want to be able to maximize every inch of my house, including the laundry and things like that. The government doesn't provide any assistance, so that's why it took so long for us to
Did you put that tube kind of elevator in, that clear tube thing that people have been doing in their homes? The suction
that was not in our budget.
No, okay.
That was not in our budget.
What'd you guys do?
It's an elevator where it looks like a closet, and then you open it, and then you go and you hold the button. It's like a platform elevator. And
those are cool.
It's great. So what we did was we needed another freezer. We had a freezer where my husband keeps the libations.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? A fridge, a beer fridge.
Yeah.
No, it's like his beer fridge, and I had like a freezer on top, but it wasn't the best quality, and we had our freezer upstairs. I said, no, we need more of a freezer. But I didn't want to get one of those like coffin freezers because A, they're not accessible for people.
They're not. Yeah.
And B, people lose things in there because you start piling things on top of each other, and you don't know what you're going to end up finding. God knows. My rule is if I can't recognize it and I don't know when I ate it, I will throw it out.
That's a good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up getting it's really cool. It's like a standing freezer, but it's only 6 cubic feet from Costco. I can reach every shelf all the way to the back.
Wow.
It's awesome. Yeah.
That's such a great tip.
I don't think we have enough space for a whole cow. That was a very long answer to your very simple question.
You're going to need a bigger freezer.
I might have to get another one.
Lord of mercy. I know. I live in a condo and I will never have a freezer that big either. So the buying of the cow will never happen to me.
But I can see why people do it.
I do me as well, but that's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that freezer idea. It's very true.
Oh my God, it's the best. It's really, it looks like a taller version of a fridge you would see like in a hotel room.
That's great. I want to put that in my pantry. Do you have a pantry?
I have I can go into my pantry.
Nice. I bet you have
because you know what we did?
Yeah.
You know where we put our pantry? You know where a lot of people have we learned that from our previous kitchen where it was a dead space. You know the corner?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't need this corner. It got dusty. I would lose things in that corner. I couldn't reach it. So we made a pantry in that whole corner so I can walk in. Yeah, it's great.
That's a good idea.
And it goes all the way to the ceiling so we can store all of our gadgets and our cooking paraphernalia at the top as well.
So smart.
And we put the big drawers in like I mentioned earlier, in the regular height and the standard height island, so I can reach my plates and my cutlery and all that, and Tupperware and things like that.
Man, you should create a video of just your kitchen.
I know. I'm gonna definitely be. I think this is something
I need to see it.
Tour my kitchen. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if you do, I'll be commenting on that one for sure. So, okay. So before I let you go, was there anything else you wanted to mention or that I didn't have a chance to ask you?
No, I think I always say if I can cook, anybody can cook. So disability or not, I know plenty of able-bodied people who just do not want to cook.
They hate it.
I think it's just, you find your ways. It's all about timing and preparation. And sometimes people would come over and everything's already ready. I pre-chop everything. As you know, when you have a disability, nothing can be fly by the seat of your pants.
No.
Our life is planned to the T. So same thing for cooking. I do all my prep. I make sure everything's ready. And if I know I can't reach something and my husband's doing something, I'll say, okay, before you go do that, can you just make sure that I have everything at my disposal?
Yes.
So that I'm not calling him. I try to avoid calling him. Oh, I can't reach this, or can you give me? Just make sure everything's at your disposal.
Yes.
And so I think, and don't be scared. Take your favorite meal that you love and learn how to make that first, because that you're going to make really well.
Oh my gosh, you have some great advice.
Soup season, oh my gosh, super easy because you don't have to do anything. You don't have to lift anything. It's one pot again.
I love them.
You know, you can, and then, so the only thing, barbecuing is a little tricky for persons with inhalation. So I don't do barbecues. I prepare the marinades and all the side dishes, but my husband actually does the actual grilling part of it.
That's probably a good idea, even though I've seen some people in wheelchairs on YouTube grill and they make it work, but I also am afraid of the grill. So,
but I think some people who are a little taller might be a little bit braver, but I can barely open the big green egg to lift the thing. It's so heavy.
Yeah, I don't want to watch you do that. I have a panic attack. I'm like, she's gonna burn home.
No.
But I love a good grill though, and my fiance is a smoking and grill guy as well. So leave it to those dudes. Does your husband like to do all the grilling then? So you don't worry about it?
He appreciates it very much. Yep. And
that's so cool.
So just, don't be afraid of it. And I try to do a different recipe every week.
Oh, good. That's
something new, and I just have fun with it. But always start with what you like the best, because you're going to put a lot of more heart and soul into it.
You feel better about it, and as they say, when you make your own food, it does taste better, right? I think so.
Oh, and how much, health-wise too. How much salt is going in there. What you're putting in there. It's you're able to support local producers as well. I think there's nothing wrong with cooking cooking at home. I think it's a great thing. It's good to support local restaurants, especially now when they're having a hard time.
Absolutely.
Delivery for sure. But cooking at home, it's much better.
It's great. It's the most, for me, it's satisfying. I found as a woman or as a person with a disability, and I can cook in the kitchen, I feel like it's like reclaiming some part of my independence in a way. I don't know if you ever feel like that, but there's some normalcy to it that feels good.
Because you feel like this is your contribution to the household.
Yeah.
Right? This is my thing. I can't do every single thing in the house. Okay. Up until recently, I couldn't do the laundry.
No.
We've had the elevator for a month and a half. I've not done the laundry. I'm still cooking.
It's so true.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you feel like you're doing your part. Because I remember when I lived at home and I didn't do the cooking, my mom always made sure that I had chores that I could do. So I cleaned the washrooms, and so that was something I always do at home. Like now, as an adult, I do that. Or she bought me a little iron, and she taught me to iron things. And the rule was I would iron anything that was not bigger than me.
Yeah.
So I would iron a lot of tea towels and dish towels. Ask me if I iron anything, and now, no, ma'am.
Hell no.
I'm cooking, but I'm cooking.
You're cooking. That's a better contribution if you ask me anyways.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Well, I wish I could try some of your food. I wish I could, but you're kind of far from me. But maybe one day if I end up in Quebec, I'll have to come by and say hi.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. That would be so fun.
You're great, Natalie. I can't believe, I'm so glad you decided to go online and share cooking with the internet. Hopefully you'll keep making more videos. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. It's been really great chatting with you today.
Yeah, and I hope to see you on TikTok.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do TikTok yet.
Okay.
That's how long it takes to do a video. It takes the whole day.
I know it does.
Yeah, I did one yesterday, and my husband's editing it, and it's not ready yet, so it takes a long time.
Well, we're going to share all of your links so everyone that's listening can view everything we've talked about. All right. So,
and if anybody has any questions on anything, they can reach out to me anytime. I love connecting with people, and this has been super fun chatting with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a super great month, and Happy New Year.
You too. Have a great one. Bye.
Okay, bye.